Welcome to Too Weird to Live Too Rare to Die, a podcast telling stories of founders, investors, and operators turning the world we live in into a better place. Gerardo Lopez, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Cool. So we actually, we know each other. Obviously, we've we chatted on the first podcast that I had back in the day, and definitely keen to chat again. Super keen to dive into it. I actually want to pick your brain about in a sec about kind of the link between your adventurous kind of, I guess, personal life and how that leads into entrepreneurship. But we actually have a song that we prepared just to get us in the taco mood as well. So I'll throw it over to Walo we got this.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever been sung to before?
He's been sung
to. No, first time. Well, actually, I had one before. That was live. That was with what was his name? Tommy?
Tommy, yeah, it was with Tommy. Yeah.
Oh, Tommy, yeah, I see. Nice. Tommy's my hero. I'm his sidekick. So I will play a beat for you, and I will sing for you. Let's go. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
Gerardo se come su propia tortilla. I don't speak no Spanish, but it's great to meet ya. You travel the world with your homie, your bolsa. Bolsa, 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 bolsa. So hello, and 2 shots of tequila. I don't speak no Spanish, but it's great to meet ya. You travel the world with your homie, your bolsa. Bolsa, 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 bolsa. So hello, and 2 shots of tequila. Gerardo se come su propia tortilla. Yeah, that's it.
Love it.
I just went all Mexican. I sent the lyrics to you. Thank you. I sent lyrics to you in case you want to remember what I said.
Don't say this to Tommy, but this song is much better. Has more rhythm. Has more Latin vibe to it.
Yeah.
That was good. You were singing the first line was in Spanish, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had to,
that was good, man.
Brush up on my Spanish.
Pretty good.
It was very good. It was very good in Spanish. I understood everything you said.
Yeah, super good pronunciation.
Thanks. Thanks.
Good job. So, why don't you tell us, Gerardo, a little bit about yourself? Background, where you're from, what you do. Yeah, who is Gerardo Lopez?
That's a complex question, but I don't even know myself who I am. But I'll tell you a little bit about my story. So I'm originally from Mexico, and I left Mexico 21 years ago. So at the time, right now I'm 42. So it's half of my life. I lived in Mexico. The other half I've been living overseas. I first left to go to the UK and spend about 2 years in the UK, and then moved to Los Angeles. And then from Los Angeles, I got an opportunity to move to Australia, all within consulting, all within IT security consulting. I was very fortunate because at the time, that career was still, growing, and it was sort of like there, but not necessarily on demand. But now is obviously there's a high demand for that career. That really helped me open a little bit the world. As you know, and as we spoke, in 2009, I climbed Everest to the summit, and that was sort of the tipping point for me. That's when I decided that I was gonna move up from LA and I wanted to go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And I decided to move to Australia. Why Australia? Because I guess I was looking for a change in my life. I was a little bit tired with the rhythm of my life that I had in Los Angeles. Not to mention that, if if I was spending 3 hours of every day in the car, just driving from one place to another, stuck in traffic, when you calculate that, it comes to almost a day of your life, of the week, driving, So I didn't like that. I didn't like I didn't like the culture as well of Los Angeles, as everybody can appreciate, would be very superficial and very much, oriented as to who you are, money, etc. So that was a no for me. I moved to Australia. I moved to Melbourne. Loved the place. I was only coming for 2 years to check it out. See if Australia was the place. I always had my eye on New Zealand, thinking, the mountains and, the open space. But, I made Melbourne home. And 4 years after being here in Australia, I decided to open La Tortilleria. Really because I was looking for, a way of showcasing to Australians what authentic Mexican food was. There was Mexican food, and there is Mexican food in Australia, but a lot of that Mexican food is influenced by the US, or what the US interpret as Mexican food. So a lot of Australians will go to the US and come back and say, oh, Mexican food is amazing. And, that's not real Mexican food. That's another sort of cuisine or interpretation of Mexican food. Very valid and very good on its own rights, but not Mexican food. So I wanted to show Australians real Mexican food. And one of the key elements of that Mexican food that I was looking for, it was the corn tortilla. So we decided to make corn tortillas with Australian corn in the same way that indigenous people in Mexico used to do it. And in some villages of Mexico, they're still doing them, which is basically making tortillas with corn kernels as opposed to corn flour. So think about it, the difference between drinking a coffee of instant coffee, Nescafe, versus a roasted bean coffee. That's exactly what we do. We do the roasted bean. We actually get the kernels, do the right thing with the tortillas, right? It is all about that and preserving the tradition and the nutrition, sustainable.
Something funny, G-Man. I was talking to my partner last night, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, want to go to bed, want to get a good sleep." Interviewing one of my buddies tomorrow. She said, "Oh yeah, who is it?" I said, "Oh, it's his name's Gerardo Lopez. He's the La Tortilleria guy." And she was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, that's him." She goes, "He makes those because we buy them all the time. Like they're like her favorite tortilla in the world. Like she was blown away. You're like a god in her eyes." She's Latin. She's Peruvian born. Brazilian born. Grew up in Peru. Obviously not Mexico, but like lots of Latin heritage. And yeah, so it was pretty cool. It was pretty funny actually.
and that's exactly what we sort of hit. We were very lucky and we got a lot of momentum in the marketplace because the tortilla it's just a carrier, right? So it's just like bread. It just happens to be gluten-free. It just happens to be, it doesn't have any additives. So instead of trying to portray the product as a Mexican product, we're just trying to portray it as a honest, healthy product. You obviously the first and main application as he's talking about is making tacos, making Latin American food, but there's more to that, right? And that's how we put it into the market. And we went from back in the day in the restaurant making 1,000 tortillas a day to now making 40 million tortillas we made last year. So the business has propelled, right? But it's all based on that original idea of making honest, true, healthy food, and being also honest to the indigenous ways that these tortillas were made in Mexico, and I think that's what really propelled this business into where it is right now. So nowadays we supply Australia wide, and we also export into Asia Pacific. So we export into Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, New Zealand. Whoa, we wanna go more into the market because, as you will know, that kangaroo stamp on your food is very good, right? And people love it everywhere. And we have to be proud in Australia because we have very good standards for food, right? And in Melbourne in particular, we know where good food is. So I like to feel like if you make it in Melbourne, you can make it anywhere in Australia.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to refer to you as G-Man. So people listening, Gerardo and I have known each other for a while, and I call him G-Man. So it's just easy, it rolls off the tongue. So, but G-Man, I'm actually interested. So I want to talk about, the story of how La Tortilleria grew, but also, do you think there's a link between, because entrepreneurs are crazy, right? Like really to set out and go, right, there's a opportunity in the market here. I'm going to improve this product or service, or I'm going to create this new product or service. You got to be pretty mad to go out and think that you can do that and go out and execute and go through the trials and tribulations, ups and downs most businesses have, nearly all businesses have. Do you think you've climbed Mount Everest, you have an enhanced appetite for risk compared to most people? I know that, knowing that you've climbed Mount Everest. It doesn't take a genius to work that out. Do you think there's a bit of a link there? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think so. I think it's a combination of an appetite to risk, but also resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what being adventurous means, right? You have to be resilient. There's a lot of things that you don't know how they're going to come, right? And whether you're taking a risk or not, it requires a lot of resilience. And keep your finger on the point, right? And don't move away from it. Keep going and keep going for the same thing. As you said, it's never easy, right? Opening a new business, especially when you have a new idea and something that hasn't been tried in the marketplace, it's not easy. And requires a lot of time, requires a lot of effort. At least for La Tortilleria, it was a lot of education, right? Educating the public, because they've never seen a corn tortilla made with corn, with Australian corn, and corn tortillas are really not used in Australia. Australia is a population of wheat, right? So that, if you relate with adventure, well, it's an adventure, right? You're gonna try something completely new. It's like going into a mountain and trying a new route, right? Going up the mountain. It's the same. You don't know what lays on the other side. The journey is going to be amazing. It's a good sort of thing to do. You wouldn't go on that new route if the weather wasn't it wasn't a good weather, or the conditions were heading you in the right direction. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't do that. So the same in businesses, right? You obviously do some planning and a strategy, but then once you set and do it, right? I like to think that a lot of the cases it's up to you to make it happen, right? It's up to you, your resilience to keep going and going and going until actually you make it happen. But also, just like in adventure, there's another element: risk, resilience, but also being humble enough to learn from your mistakes and through the process, right? So, when you're in adventures, you make a lot of mistakes, but those mistakes help you learn. Even simple things like, I should have brought more water. It's stupid to think, but we do it, right? In adventure, sometimes we have either too much or too little, right? These are the things that you normally learn. Same with business. When you set up to do something, if you don't really stop and learn about your mistakes and make correction and be brave enough to say, I made a mistake, or my way of thinking is not the right one. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that ability, it's very hard to convert those mistakes into opportunities.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I really like the thing you mentioned about resilience, because in a lot of ways, I think business is the ability to outlast people, outlast your competitors and stick with it. It really is. That's how I feel about things. And I think without resilience, there's too many bumps in the road as an entrepreneur to stay the course if you don't have a bit of that toughness. And I really like the point about humility too. I think humility and empathy and I try and always remember, not try and be. I try and remember that I am the dumbest person in the room a lot of the times. And leave people, free to make decisions on their own. I think that's always important too. So I think that, humility is definitely a big one. So before we jump again back into La Tortilleria, I'd love to hear like the experience of climbing Mount Everest. There's only a small handful of people really that you might cross paths with in your life that have done something like that. You know, you and I have briefly discussed it in the past, but yeah, I would love to just, you know, hear of it again from you, like the experience of getting to base camp, you know, going through, you know, the I guess the first section, you know, which is the super dangerous section, the death zone. Like, it's a crazy experience. Like, talk us through the emotions of actually setting out and trying to achieve something like this.
Yeah, and it actually comes at a good time because this time I'm getting ready at the moment to go to Pakistan next year, and this is set up in stone now. And I'm trying, and I've been going through a process of reliving all these experiences because I'm getting myself ready psychologically, but also I need to be motivated, right, to get on training and get ready. So it just comes at the right time. The experience of climbing Everest, it was amazing. But I have to say, though, that all the years of preparation and training and climbing all the mountains was equally important in that process, right? So it's a journey. It's a journey that takes you to the point that, as you said, that you get to base camp, and then you set up there to, you know, for the first time you're in front of your goal, right, and say, okay, here I am. You know, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm not, and to me, it was never about the fame, because I wanted to be famous. It's never been a thing for me to be famous because I climbed Everest. So it's something that I do because I love. It's my passion. It's the one thing that keeps me driving, right? So when I got there, the first thing that you get confronted with is the Khumbu Icefall. And as you said, you know, it is super dangerous. 40% of the people that climb or that die climbing Everest die in that section. Wow. And it's just because, imagine, it's just a waterfall, but instead of being water, it's ice. Yes, ice moves very slowly, but it moves. That means that chunks of ice the size of a house or a car can fall off you anytime without you having an idea, right? So it's just
I lost a friend there 30 two and a half years ago.
No, sorry to hear that.
It's crazy.
It is a crazy part of the world, and it is one of those times where you know the risk, right? And the only way to potentially manage the risk is by moving fast. You know, you're not gonna change if a block of ice is gonna fall on you, it's gonna fall, right? But the longer time you spend there, the more exposure you have, right? So you have to move fast. So that's one of those times all the preparation and everything that you've done will potentially help you to do that. So moving fast is key, right? And you know, the first times, because and the thing is, because climbing Everest takes about 3 months, right? So you go up, you go down, you go up, you go down, you go up, you go down, because you need to acclimatize. You need to get your body used to the altitude. So that process of doing that, it basically means that in the whole time, you have to cross that icefall anywhere between 12 to 20 times, right?
Oh my God.
So you're putting yourself in a lot of risk. So from the first time I did the Khumbu Icefall, it took me about 6 hours. Towards the end, it was taking me under 4 hours to do it, because you know, I was getting better, and I was like, I need to move through. And also, every time you go through it, it's completely different. So you don't know what you're facing, right? Because
even days apart, it's different. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Every day is different, right? And the guys that I was climbing with, we will leave very early in the morning, so we wouldn't know what to expect. You know, a lot of those ladders that are put to help you cross, they could be crushed, or they could have disappeared into the crevices. So we will have to find our ways. We will have to, you know, navigate through the Khumbu Icefall just to get to the top. But for us, it was important to leave early because we find more stable conditions during that time. So anyways, that's crazy, right? That's crazy. And you don't want to do it, but then you don't have an option, right? Then Camp 1 to Camp 2, I like to define it as a walk in the park. It is not so, but compared to the rest, it's pretty nice. And because you have all the mountains around you and all the glaciers and everything around you.
Probably the part you can enjoy the most and just take in the scenery, so to speak.
It's beautiful. All the reflection for the sun makes you basically remove everything. You're basically climbing on a t-shirt and shorts. It's 20, 30 degrees there. It's amazing. You're surrounded by the highest mountains in the world. It's just, and it gives you that ability to change your state of mind, right? So suddenly you're enjoying what you're doing, and then actually, I'm always enjoying what I'm doing, but sometimes it gets very
bit of a
very
mental
hard.
refresh after the Kumbu ice.
Yeah. Then going up from Camp 2 to Camp 3 is what we call the Lhotse phase. It's very steep. It's safe for the most part, but it's very challenging because for the first time you are in sections of the mountain that are 40 to 60 degrees inclination. So that's pretty hard. And you don't, unless you live in a country where you have a lot of ice, you don't have these conditions, right? And it's very hard to train for these conditions. So it burns, your calves, everything in you is burning, everything is different. So you basically challenge in a different way. And then Camp 3, it's a camp that is set up on the mountain, on the face of the ice that is basically carved into the ice, and then you set up the tents there. And a lot of the tents are just hanging from the wall, right? So you're sleeping in a tent that is hanging from a wall, from an ice wall, right? That you have a drop of about 1,000 meters underneath you.
Oh my God!
So you have to be very careful when you go to the toilet. All those little things. Every movement is awkward and is difficult.
Yeah.
Then you leave from Camp 3, go to Camp 4. Camp 4 is the dead zone, as you were talking about it. Once you get to the dead zone, everything changes. There's no superheroes. Doesn't matter who you are. You can be, an Olympian. You can be a triathlete. Everybody is in the same, I would say, level. We all dying. We know that we're dying. There's not enough oxygen for our bodies to survive. We're killing ourselves. We know the risk. We all have this condition called hypoxia, which is basically a reduction of oxygen in your brain. We know we're not 100% conscious and 100% thinking what we're doing, right? So there's so much risk. There's so much risk at that point. And off you go, right? Off you go to the summit from there. And to me, I was just reliving that moment the other day. I left at 9 p.m. the night before. So on the 18th of May of 2009, I left at 9 p.m. and I climbed through the night. I made it to the summit at 8:55 a.m. the next day in the morning to the summit. And that to me, it was sort of the journey or the day of the most amazing, the most challenging, the most everything. You are in a zone. I don't remember 12 hours in my life that I've been in the zone.
Oh yeah.
Just there, it's survival. You can't be anywhere else but just there. Every step counts, every movement counts, every breath counts. Everything that you do from that time will guarantee either your success or you're dead. So it's very tricky, and that really changes everything. And the reason I've been trying to relive this is because I want to make sure that first and foremost, when I go to Pakistan next year, I am ready, but I also am confident, and I am in a mind state that's what I want to do. That I know exactly everything that it takes to do it, and I know that I'm gonna go through the same again. And the response to all of that after reliving all of this is yes, I want that, because not because of the climb, not because of this, but because I was saying before, for those experiences, being in the zone again, being there, it's just such an amazing experience that, no matter how many businesses, I have open, I'm working on, and I'm doing that, I don't get the same. I do not get the same.
Yeah. It's actually, I've had some pretty unique, pretty amazing experiences. I've traveled all over the world. I've been very lucky. It's hard for me, while you were explaining it, you did a fantastic job of explaining that, by the way. I really felt like I was zoned into listening to you talk about it, but I was like, wow. And I was I was also really trying to picture myself in that position, and I just can't do it. It's so hard for me to conceptualize that. But life is actually, if you want to get real emotional about it, life is about those moments. You know, how many of those moments where you're truly like doing what you're absolutely passionate about, when nothing else matters, that you'll remember forever. You know, I was about to ask you, because of the lack of oxygen in the brain, I was about to ask you, do you remember what it was like? And then I didn't ask you, because it's very obvious that like this memory is like very strong in your mind, and like very, and I can only imagine it must be such an addictive feeling, or just like such a strong pull to be back in that state of mind. I use a very small example. I love surfing, you know. Surfing is an hour of being in the zone. You can't be out getting washed around the ocean, having waves land on your head and be stressed about work, you know. Like, that's the one time more than any else that I can like be in it, so to speak. But it would pale in comparison. I'd have to be surfing 150-foot waves to be like same level of like care needed, like everything that I do every moment, all the preparation, and that would be the equivalent of. But it must just be such a I guess, yeah, addictive feeling that you want to kind of get to, I feel.
Yeah, you're right. I haven't thought about that addiction, but yes, it is addictive. I have to admit that, you know, it's been 12 years since I climbed Everest, and I've done a few climbs. I've been to New Zealand, and I've been to places sort of trying to look for that. But it hasn't been until the last, you know, few months that, you know, through, and, you know, right now, for example, when I was telling that story, I was reliving the moment. I was like, I want that, you know, and I haven't found it again. And that's why I'm going to Pakistan again, because, or not again, I've never been to Pakistan. This is the first time. Sorry, but this is why I'm going climbing again, because I need it, you know. And I think now I'm at a point in my life where I can do it, because, you know, the journey that I've taken with the business now is settled. You know, we have management team. You know, I don't have to be in the business. The business doesn't rely on me. I can do it. And for the first time, you know, in these 12 years, I feel like, you know, I have now something, or more than one, because Tortilleria is one of my businesses, but I have another business now, you know, that I can, you know, keep going, you know, and everything will continue and everything will be fine.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you do in order to, so in business and in climbing and in life, what do you do to have like a high performance mindset? Like, how do you structure your days? How do you think about, you know, being the best version of yourself? Because you need to be in a number of different facets, particularly with next year and in, you know, climbing in Pakistan and so forth. What do you do to try and foster that, you know, high performance mindset, best version of yourself?
It's a very good question. I think there's many different type of people, right? And we all respond to different motivations and different factors. I have to say, for myself, I have found in the last 4 years yoga to be a very important part of my life. Not because of, I like the philosophy of yoga. I'm not saying that I follow it 100%, but I like the structure that it brings to my day. Starting at 6 a.m. with a yoga class, you know, feeling energized on the other side, but also your mind reset, ready to go. It's amazing. That feeling is just amazing. And then that makes me start my day at 7:30 a.m. So 7:30, boom, I'm up and running, right? And then, yes, throughout the day, I'm either going to go rock climbing, I'm going to go doing some training for this, I'm going to go for a run, I'm going to go for a hike, I'm going to do many other things, but that just set up the foundation for the rest of my day. And then, you know, I sort of have, because of my new business, I now have to interact a lot with Mexico. So I set up my time from 8 to 10 a.m. That's my time for Mexico, right? So I dedicate my time to conference calls and talk to Mexico, finish that time, then go and do something, right? Go and climb, go for a run, go and do personal training, whatever the case is, and then sort of restart my Australian life at about, you know, midday, 1 p.m. And then And then off I go. And I know I have the rest of the day to do whatever I have to do, unless I have to go climbing with friends or hiking or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't push myself too much. I just know what I have to get done, right? And I have all this time. Normally, within 1 and 4 and 5, I'm done. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm done by 2. But that gives me so much flexibility to do all the things that I love while still, giving other people what they need and being respectful of the time too. People expect things from me. I need to deliver that to them. And as long as all of that is done, there's 1,000 more times things that I could do. There's 1,000 more times that 1,000 more businesses that I can think of. There's so much more that I can do, but I decide I choose not to.
Yeah.
If I decide to do something, it's because it's going to have time from me. It's going to have my full respect while still not tampering with any of the other things that I want to do in my life. And that's it. Different people have different motivations, and I can see why some entrepreneurs have 20 businesses and go for this, because they may not have all these other things that I have in my life. They may not do yoga, they may not do climbing, PT, not training, but then they find all the time to do all these other things, right? And off they go. Different people have different motivations, and really, to me, at the moment, and this is something new in my life, but at the moment, my only motivation is to make a difference to other people. If I'm not making a difference to other people, then I'm not doing the right things. So what it means now is I need to make sure that my time is invested in the company, to make sure that the people that work in the company, they can be the best of themselves, as you were saying, and spot on. I agree with you. But if they need my time, give them time. If they need a space from me, perfect. Even better. But that helps them achieve the best of themselves. I'm hands off. I'm here doing my thing. Be the best that you can be without me. It makes everything much better, right? And they do the things that I can, and then off to myself. Do all these things that I want to do, and put all my time to climbing, and put all my time to PT training, mindset, all of that. And that's sort of how at the moment I'm structuring my life. Seems to be working. I'm setting up a non-for-profit in Mexico at the moment as well, because it's my time now that I feel to give back to the country that has given me so much. So, and that's it, and that's how I structure my day. But I guess it could be very tricky, right? Because it's so easy to take too much. And get excited and wow, let's go. It's crazy.
Because my next question was going to be, did it take you a little while to get to that point? Because it's funny, you're a passionate guy. Passion is written all over your face in anything that you do. As am I. And one of the things I struggle with at the moment, Athena, I'm super passionate, hyper. I think of it as a big piece of art, a big work of art. It's my favorite thing to do in my spare time, is my job, my startup and so forth. So I struggle with, because I have all these things that you have too. I love training. I love weightlifting. I love, going out and hiking. I love adventuring. But I, at the moment, am getting sucked into I don't have a great work-life balance, because I'm always going too hard. I'm always booking in meetings super early. We've got a huge team in Latin America. So I'm trying to, no meetings before 8 a.m. And then I just sneak meetings in, and I'm working till do you mind if I just quickly say to my girlfriend, just quickly going to jump on and do a couple of things, 10 p.m. at night. I'm really personally struggling to differentiate. I'm still quite happy. And the thing is, Athena's growing fast. So it doesn't need me to be doing extra. It's more I just get sucked in, but I know that I get to a point where I get burnt out, and then it negatively affects me, which negatively affects my ability to be the best leader, which negatively affects everything. So did it take you a little while to get to this really sweet spot that you sound like you're in? While through the growth of La Tortilleria, or?
No, I think it was through, through the growth of La Tortilleria. It took me, and I'm sure I'm not the only entrepreneur that has this issue. Once you learn to let it go, then you gain so much more control. And it's hard to envision that. It's hard to understand that.
I know exactly what you're saying.
It's so hard. Yeah. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. It took people to actually show it to me. It was, how do you let your baby go? It's my baby. Why would I give it to somebody else? Yeah. But it's in giving. It's in giving to other people and giving them an opportunity to be the best of themselves with what you have created, and letting them make mistakes the same way that you make mistakes, that you create that. But it's so damn hard. It's so hard because at the end of the day, we're humans, right? We have egos. We have we have a built in us that evolutionary. We want to gather, we want to take instead of want to give. And it's hard. And it's not through a process of understanding and setting up the foundation, right? Once you set up the foundation, once you set up the values for your company and what you expect, and the guidance and the everything around it, then you have to let it go. And it's hard. But once you do it, then you learn so much. Because now that I have applied that from La Tortilleria into other businesses, I see everything completely different, right? Yeah. I'm actually now more inclined to give more of these businesses to other people and invite them to come in, because I know what they bring into not only the business, but into myself is far beyond the secluded sort of way of control that I had. It wasn't helping anyone, not even myself, So it's hard, but I think that's what it is. Once you find the key, once you go through that, but it's a process, I feel like it's a process. Every entrepreneur has to do it. They say, entrepreneurs is not the first business, maybe not the second, it's the third one that is going to be a massive success, right? And success is not driven by money. Success is not driven by necessarily, how many followers you have on Instagram or anything like that. Success is what makes you happy and what makes you happy and what makes a difference. So that's what I've been learning, So entrepreneurs have to let go of things, right? So they can move to the next one and to the next one and to the next one. Yeah.
It's actually super timely for you to say that. It's so funny. And I really like what you said about values, because without having your values set, I remember hearing, values is how your people act when you're not in the room. That's a brilliant way to verbalize what values mean to people. And I feel like we're really good in that department at Athena. And it's funny because when you talk about giving away parts of the business, giving away management responsibility and so forth, for me, we have around, from my experience, we have 32 people more or less at Athena. And we really had one or two leaders up until we had, 22, 23 people. So everyone was directly managed by me, and then it got to the point where we hired a head of talent acquisition quite recently. A new creative director coming on board, head of RevOps, put a couple of people in internal positions of leadership. And it really took like the first time that we were able to do that really successfully, which when you hire well and you have great people and you have good values, it is quite easy to do. But it took me to really, for the first time, to hand something major over, a full department, and go, okay, cool. I'm no longer on the team meetings in the week. I'm no longer, I got kicked off the team meetings. Martin, our head of talent acquisition, he said, hey, the time that you've got that works for you doesn't really work for the team. So do you mind if I just move it? The team meeting's now at 11 p.m. So I'm never on it. But it was actually, as soon as we got to that point, it has now become like a race to build in more of that. I knew that, cool, we'd grown, our team by from 8 to 30 or whatever in 6 months. To be successful and to continue to grow, we don't need to grow to 60 people, 100 people. Our next stage is like building in more leadership and management and so forth that can take the reins so that we can grow effectively, efficiently, and, everyone can be happy. Because I talked about it actually with the product team. I was talking about, because most of our team are in Latin America. And, when we were growing, it was like, okay, cool. When we start to hire, full build out our marketing team, they're probably going to have to be onshore in Australia or in the US so that we can communicate to that was false. And then it got to like sales team. Okay, cool. When we're actually making sales, they'll probably have to be local. That was false. And then it got to product, and product was the big one. Product was, okay, cool. Well, I'm the founder and CEO and the guy with the vision and this and that, whatever. Obviously, when we start building digital products at high complexity, whatever, I'm going to have to be sitting next to the product team day in, day out, whatever. And then it got to the point where I was like, am I the most egotistical, I have to be involved, but I'm not that important. My vision needs to be across it. I need to be in the conversations, but we have an exceptional product team that are killing it without me sitting next to them. I'm not that important, it really, and it is a nice liberating feeling because, then it doesn't all rely on you. It's like, oh, great. This is a joint effort, and it does give you that freedom. So that's kind of where, it's funny you say that, because that's where we're at, and it's really kind of exciting to continue to move into more of that space.
Yeah, okay. I've learned so much from what you've said in the past. How many minutes? 45 minutes, I guess. 45, yeah, about, letting go. Because, sometimes I'm pretty young, but I've had experience with entrepreneurship as on a small scale, and one of my biggest challenges has always been, I want this thing to be this way. And so I feel like nobody else can do it. And so I have to do it myself. So it has really I learned 2020 during COVID year was my slap on the face. Look, you don't need to do everything yourself. I was and then now based on what you've said, I was originally going to ask you this question, because it seems like you have hacked knowing how to handle, big problems that seem like you can't even do anything about, by letting go, that I was going to ask you, and then you just basically answered without asking. So I have my notes written down, yeah, because it's wow, I had a question and you've already answered it, letting go of most things. And it seems like when you let go, the freeing feeling, it becomes addictive. Is that it? The freeing feeling becomes something you look forward to.
Wow. Yes. Yeah, when you let go, you have freedom, right? And then when you have freedom, then you keep going. And it's the same with the mountains. Once you let go from your mistakes or from the challenges, you want more. But nobody else knows about it. It's just you, right? And it's the same. It's just the problem is in life it's not a problem though, but we have all these people, and we think that they have expectations set on us, but they don't have any expectations set on us. They don't even care about those expectations. We set up those expectations for ourselves that they have expectations. But there's no
universe, but no one actually cares, really, do that.
No one actually cares.
100%.
You are the owner of your life. You are the owner of what you want to do and how you want to do it. You can go if you want to go to point A, you can come this way. Everybody can go different ways.
Yeah.
And there's no expectations, right? You think that there's all these people at the top looking at you down and saying how he's gonna do it. No, nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody
cares. And one of the biggest things that I've learned too is, as you were saying, Walo, when it comes to entrepreneurship and doing things, the biggest thing is you have to do it once, and you have to go through the hardship of doing it once to learn, but also, unfortunately, to build a name. Once you have a name, once you have done it, then all these opportunities will come to you. But you have to do it because originally or at the beginning, when you haven't done it, it's very hard, to get other people's, attention. And I do the same, right? If I go into new partnerships and I go into new businesses, who I look for? Well, people that have done it before. And that's I think that's the entry point. The entry point for any of this is doing it once, doing it well, to then propel.
Yeah. Is that how you moved into the whole TV space? I feel like that's Doc's question. Doc was going to ask that. Really? Is that how you moved to basically your good execution from La Tortilleria?
Yep. Yeah, very well.
Tortilleria, yeah, kind of ushered you into like the whole TV space. You know, this is Mexico.
Yep.
This is Mexico. And etc.
This is Mexico.
Yeah, it's like wow. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, right? Because once you create a profile, now that you get opportunities to chat with people like Bill, for example, and yourself, and you start to create a network, right? A network that didn't exist before, and also you create some level of confidence. I have to say though, with my first interview with Bill, I created this confidence in me that I'm like, okay, actually, I'm good at this, you know. And Bill has never heard this, but it's true. It was that time in my life that said, you know, I'm actually good at this. So I started taking it, and I started doing radio and radio interviews and a few TV shows after that. Yeah. And suddenly, the opportunity came. But it was that one first opportunity that opened up, and I didn't know Bill, right? And it was a third party that introduces, right? But that's how it happens. You need to do that first one to and do it well, and obviously with Bill and the team was very easy to do it well because they're so good at what they do. But see, Bill indirectly doesn't know that, and now he knows that story. So he's made something on me that has propelled a change in me, that has gave me that ability to do things, without knowing it. But he was giving something out to other people, and that's the beauty of what we do as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's actually that's actually super. That's awesome. That was really nice to hear. It's just so cool. It's like I think other people's faith in you open up doors, and because I can trace. So at the moment, we have Athena, and that was my baby, and it's growing, and we're super proud of what we're doing, and it's going to be amazing long into the future. Before that, I had my previous startup, Adventure Fit. Adventure Fit started because of one of my friends. He's a bit older than me. Him and his young family had just moved over to Indonesia. He just loves surfing and what have you. He wanted to do like a few years over there, just that kind of lifestyle. He moved over to Indonesia. He called me up and he said, "Hey, I've got an opportunity at a fitness retreat. They're looking for a coach. I told them you're the best coach I know. They want you for the job." And I said, "But I'd only just started coaching. This is like coaching CrossFit, fitness, personal training, weightlifting, this kind of stuff." I said, but Steve, I'm not the best coach you know. He goes, no, you're great. He goes, you're only young, but he goes, you're awesome. You're a great coach. You do a great job. And I was like, no. I'm not the right guy for this. Anyway, what happened was I went over to Indonesia, got offered a job on this, a permanent job on this fitness retreat, offered the job of head coach at this gym over there, all in the one hit. And a couple of things actually went awry in terms of me getting set up over in Bali and to live over there. And so it didn't actually come through, and that was fine. But that gave me the onus to like, oh, you know what? That fitness retreat that I saw, I could probably do that. I could probably do that myself. I mean, I couldn't get over there and that didn't really work out, but why couldn't I do it? And it was I trace it back. I've said this to Steve. I said, I trace it all back to him having that one it was unwavering faith in my ability to do something that I shouldn't have been trusted to do. He was like, no, you can do this. And I trace everything back to that. And it's funny that you mentioned that. It's really nice to hear. And yeah, I really think it does. Yeah. I think other people's faith, in you kind of, because oftentimes more than the faith you have in yourself, you're like, oh, wow. All these people think I can do it, man.
Yeah. It's so important, and the more faith we give to other people, the more we're giving to them. So it's just a circle, and it just goes back and back and around. So I think that's my biggest learning at the moment is how much being free allows you to give back, or look at opportunities giving back, and that just comes around and just creates a circle. Bigger.
Yeah, 100%. And I really love like the network thing. I used to really have a feeling of like when anyone would talk about, when I first started in business, when anyone would talk about sales or networking, both of them would give me the heebie-jeebies, like, I just feel really uncomfortable with the idea of, going to an event and trying to meet people to try and become, help each other business-wise and pitch this and sell that or whatever. The moment I realized that building a network, sales, networking itself, whatever, the moment I realized that it was about making friends and being a good person, I was like, oh my God, I'm fucking excellent at this. This is great. And then at some point, you will or you won't do business together. But if there's an opportunity where you can help each other out, then you will. And that's what it's about for me. I've always thought, like, how can I just be the best bloke I can, which I'm good at. I'm a nice guy. I'm a good bloke, really. And that will always pay itself back in droves. It just makes your day nicer. So yeah, it's
Yes, it's not about networking events. It's not about any of that. I agree completely with you.
Yeah.
It's about just treating everyone the same way and giving everybody an opportunity to express themselves and be who they want to be. And with time, things will come around. So completely agree with you.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's actually very simple when you break it down like that. So, G-Man, are you on a tight? I just want to quickly check. Are you on a tight time schedule here?
Unfortunately, yes. I have another 5 minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely no problem. So, before we wrap it up, I want to throw it over to Walo, who's got a few questions that we would normally finish up on. So, over to you, Walo.
Okay. G-Man, so can you tell me or tell us, your listeners, your wonderful listeners, a book that has changed the way you think lately, or one that changed your life all time? Anyone, either of the two,
Yeah, no, I have one. Goes by the name of Dark Emu. And it's classical of Australian literature. I've never had an opportunity of reading that book. Very interesting. Whilst not everything is completely 100% factual, there's still a lot of theories around it. It talks about how Indigenous Australians were the first ones to develop the technology for potentially agriculture. Wow. But they were not nomads in the way that we thought they were. So they did have a culture, and how they were 500 different countries in one big land of Australia. But at the same time, they were all, living together in harmony. That's very interesting. And it's very interesting because I'm also trying to learn a lot about my Mexican background and Indigenous people in Mexico too. And it just shows me how little we know about them and how much there is to learn from them.
Yeah, cool. I really like that. I'll definitely be checking that out. Can you tell us one business or life tool that you can't live without?
One business, you mean?
Business or life tool that you can't live without. Something very important to you.
I can live without breakfast. And I don't know if it's a business or it's a tool, but I need a good breakfast to start my day. I just can't. I don't know how people go in life without having breakfast.
This is the most unique answer we've gotten so far. I was half expecting you to say, look, my calendar or, something, maybe my laptop. I was like,
the oldest technology in the world. The oldest technology in the world.
Yeah. Breakfast.
I'm a breakfast advocate. Yes, I am. I support that. Yes.
Well, imagine, like all Indigenous people, they will wake up hungry. That was the first thing that they would be seeking for, out of everything else,
Yeah, I guess that's my final question because of the time and everything. So
if you have another question, go for it.
It would be deep and philosophical.
Go for it.
You don't have to. Okay. How do you it's related to the first comment I made, but how do you handle a problem that your hands are literally tied? This is a big one. So, how can you summarize in a line, a sentence? Because I don't want to take your time.
So you basically saying a problem without moving my hands, or a problem where I have no control over?
Yeah, a problem you have no control over. How do you handle those?
I was saying that because I move my hands a lot. So when I'm talking, so if I need to put my hands down, I couldn't say anything
right now.
Yeah.
How do I deal with a problem that I have no control over?
I warned you, it's pretty deep.
I will reach to people that do have some control over and just offer help and let them know that I'm there for them without offer any opinion on saying anything. Just saying I'm there for wherever is needed. And then check on them.
Thank you.
Check on them when things have gone through or all that, because even if it doesn't go your way, the fact that you really, first of all, offer your help and then check on them, it means that you actually really care.
I will refrain from asking you more tasking questions. Thank you for answering my questions. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Gerardo Lopez, round 2 was excellent. Pleasure as always. Super. You're a very inspirational guy, mate. I really mean that.
Yeah.
Like your view on life. You only get one of them, and I think the way that you speak and the passion that you speak with definitely, challenges people's ideas of how they want to go about things. You're one of those people. You really are. Before we shoot off, anything that you would like to mention, anything that you would like to plug, Tortilleria, this is Mexico, anything that you're working on, and where maybe people can find you if they wanted to say hello and whatever.
Well, obviously, eat more tortillas because the world needs more tortillas and more tacos. There's nothing wrong with tacos. Tacos fixes everything. And we know that. There's nothing that cannot be fixed with a taco. This is Mexico. We obviously waiting for COVID and all these things to happen so we can continue with that journey. I think it's a very awesome journey of for me to rediscover Mexico. And if we can bring people along to the journey, what else can I ask in life? Follow me on Taco Guy AU. Taco Guy AU has news about everything that I do. I'm about to launch a new project about mezcal. So mezcal being an indigenous drink from Mexico. I like to think is one of the very few fair traded drinks in the world, because you actually can trace it back to the producer and whoever is making it, and you can make an impact directly to their lives while still enjoying something that is unique and very delicious. So working on that, launching very soon in a few weeks. And yeah, Taco Guy is an update on what I'm doing. But if you don't follow social media, which I don't blame anybody from not doing it. Just look for Mexican in Australia and you'll find me.
The Mexican guy.
The Mexican guy. The Taco Guy.
Alrighty, unreal. Pleasure as always, mate. Like I said, always good to chat. That's it from us.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Walo. Thank you, Matías. It was a pleasure to meet you guys. All the best, and you know where to find me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wrap.
Cheers, guys.